Hello, honorable members of the clan. I could not wait to get to you guys. I just could not wait. I had to do some few things. That's why we are getting these late lives, the live streams. We stream late in the hope that there are people that are still pretty much awake, and also those that probably you're sitting at work during your night duty and you're not as busy, and maybe you want to kill some time. Here I am. You can click onto my channel and let's have a good conversation. Guys, there are so many things after the government of national unity. I need to get this in my head. It's called the government of national unity. I don't want to lie to you guys. I know it's still early days. I know so, but also you can almost make a conclusion where this is going. And from where I am standing, it seems like it's going in the right direction. Even though you are going to get these forces, our own, the ones that we voted for, doing things, and you're like, but don't you want South Africa a better place? Then you remember, by the way, this person is gated, he is protected by VIP, police, whatever it is that they are called. They are making over 100,000 rand a month. Why should they give a rat's toll for the rest of us? The reality hits very, very quickly, because that is what we've been accustomed to for the past 30 years, that we don't matter. We are just voting cows to sustain that lifestyle. But now South Africans are saying, no. If you are listening to conversations right now, it doesn't matter where you are listening to these conversations, on YouTube or Instagram or TikTok or X, people of South Africa are saying, this is our opportunity. We are grabbing it while we are striking the iron while it's still hot, especially with the ones that are new in governance, because the ones that are older in governance, they are still behaving the same way as they've always behaved in the last 30 years. There are lists that are being dropped. There are people that were involved in the VBS Mutual Bank, and guess what? The former governing party is mum. And by the way, they even have a policy, if I remember very well, that was created in the ANC conference in 2017. The step down, is it step aside or step, whatever the case is? If you are accused of committing a crime, or you've committed a crime, or all that stuff, that you should step down from a position that you are holding and go clear your name. And when your name has been cleared, that you can come back. But seemingly, even in the government of national unity, people that have been implicated in crimes that start with Zizi Kodwa, who was implicated or allegedly accused of corruption of 1.2 million rand with some dude. And guess what? He's in parliament as a member of parliament. So even their own policies within disregarded, therefore disregarding the people that voted for them, right? And now we have the VBS Mutual Bank saga. Guess what? And you're like, what else is new? Yesterday, I did not finish my thoughts. I realized as I was watching the replay that I did not finish my thoughts. That if you ever find yourself, you're with a group of people and you committed some kind of a crime, and now the law is coming after all of you, the best thing to do if you want to serve a short sentence or even no sentence at all, run to the state first and say, listen, I'm willing to talk, but these are the conditions that I would like to put on the table for me to sing like a canary. You bargain with the state. You bargain with the state. You tell the state, I am willing to talk. If I'm going to get a reduced sentence or no sentence at all, I will be your state witness. I will do everything that needs to be done. And if one of you, or because there's no honor amongst criminals, right? Even alleged criminals, some run first. They leave you all behind, still busy discussing and caucusing on how you are going to stiffen your necks and hope and see what the state has on you. When your friend is already making all kinds of deals with the state, pleads guilty, gets sentenced immediately. And now it's a time for you to face the music when you get arrested and then you get prosecuted. And there, your very partner in crime is on the stand talking against you. So when they run first to the stage, also run behind them because there's only limited number of witnesses that the state will want. Sometimes the state will just need one. And I think they got the big fish in Matodzi because he was the chair of VBS Mutual Bank and he knew the power he held for the state's case. And that is why he went first to bargain with the state. He pre-bargained and he got 15 years. I mean, the three-quarter of that sentence, which is what, 8 years' time, he's out on the street. If he behaves in prison, he gets even a shorter time. 4 years, he's out. He'll be amongst us in 4 years' time if he behaves and is a model prisoner and all of those things. While pensioners, people who put hundreds of thousands of rands of their hard-earned money, will still be poor. Others are passing on. And yet this individual probably in 4 years, 5 years will be out of prison. Then the rest, you can't run later. You do it now. Like, I have information. This is how I was involved. I'm willing to be a witness. So that's a thought that I did not complete yesterday. That if you ever committed a crime with a group of people and now the issue is hitting the fan, run and plea bargain. Make some negotiations with the state and say, listen, I was involved and this is how I was involved. And you start singing names, places, time, documents, all these other stuff. Take them all out and put it in the forefront. Just like Matodzi did. I didn't manage to complete the affidavit. Took me up to 3 a.m. this morning. My brain is still processing exactly what is going on. I'm going to put that in a video, not in a live, where I'm able to talk without any pressure of time. I don't want to waste too much of your time. Now, I got up this morning to great news. The police minister, Senzo Mchunu, yesterday dropped his plan of action. How he's going to reduce crime in this country. I mean, I have faith in Senzo Mchunu. I do not want to lie. I think he's a no-nonsense type of person. I heard some people say, but when he was Minister of Sanitation and what. Listen, his job is oversight. The people that you're supposed to, I get it, that he's supposed to hold them accountable and all that stuff. He's just a minister. But he does have the power to change things. He really does. And so when he dropped his plan of action, I liked one point that I want to focus on. The overhaul or an overhaul of police management system. I was like, aha. Because the reason I believe crime in this country is so out of hand is because of management. The police management. We had a former minister who had this, no action. Cameras, he was like the Hollywood A-lister star. The moment something happens, he's there. One asks oneself, what exactly are you doing there? Is there something that you're going to do for those people? Or you're just there showing face? Yeah, he was showing face and still nothing happened. The crime levels still continue to rise. Why? Because criminals learned that this guy, he's all talk but no action. He's a busybody. Then they learned that very quickly. That is why now they were starting to do crime brazenly and openly, and they didn't care who saw them. With the sun right above our heads, they did it. Why? Because they knew this minister is going to come to that scene and say, oh, woof, 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 and then nothing happens. And the other thing that I also like from the portfolio committee chair, Ian Cameron, talks about something that I think we have discussed this on the clan before, on the Senzo Meyiwa murder, that we don't believe South Africa has capable detectives. If they do, or if we do have detectives, they are inept. They don't know what they are doing. They don't know. Maybe they might know the theory when they come to court and do criminal law 101, just like you know who. When he's asked questions that are practical as a police officer, he doesn't know how to answer those, but he will take you through the textbook, what the textbook says. But what about the practical work where you get your hands and knees dirty, putting together the pieces that will get justice for the victims? There's no capability. So definitely we do not have detectives in this country. And I'm not saying overall we don't have detectives. Probably there are those that are good. And I will say there are good detectives because the kidnappings in the country are starting to also experience some serious counteraction from the police. Clearly means that there are good detectives. All they need is a few pieces of evidence, and then they get their people. But the rest, I don't think, especially the ones that are on the Senzo Meyiwa murder trial, I don't think those guys know anything about investigations. They must prove us wrong. Prove us wrong that the crime scene at the Senzo Meyiwa, the murder scene, that due diligence was followed. And as a result, these are the 5 men that are accused of killing Senzo Meyiwa were there in the Kumalo house on the 26th of October 2014. But right now we are getting mambo jumbo, mixed masala. Everything is just in there, and you have one who says, this is not my statement. This is not my, this is not my, I wasn't there. But you're a detective. You're one of the lead detectives. So I've asked the question, do we even have police academy in this country? I asked that question many a times. So now with Senzo Mchunu and everything that he has said, I'm focusing on the overhaul of the police management system, because it starts there, I believe. But the former minister, it started with him. And all these other ones, they are looking up to this guy who's doing nothing. So why should they do anything? You ask yourself, how come a constable is still a constable 15 years down the line? And some of these constables are good police officers that get the job done, but they're just this tiny in the pool. They're just this drop in the pool. It makes no sense. So this overhaul, I am looking forward to it, but I want to make an addition to the minister. I understand that some of us who do these things on YouTube, the ministers do also watch. That's what I heard. So if the Minister of Police together with Ian Cameron are listening to this live, guys, let's get to work, because I've got some few suggestions that I would like to make. And these suggestions are going to spill also onto the Home Affairs and DECO. I used to know it as International Relations. I don't know why it was changed for who, because this DECO thing to me is just doesn't make sense. Police officers, let's start there. Yes, while you are busy overhauling the management system, let's also go down. Every police officer, I mean, everybody must be vetted. Every police officer that is a member of the South African Police Service must be vetted. These are the things that you should look for. How many of your members are criminals? And when I say criminals, I'm talking people that are accused of crimes and convicted, but somewhere, somehow, they got back out and put on that blue uniform and continued with work, convicted as they are, because they are there. Secondly, how many police officers that are accused of various crimes, and that also includes domestic violence, that also includes community disability, because simply they wear a blue uniform. The other one that we need to look at, How, okay, we really look for how many that are convicted but are still police officers. The third one, how many that are involved in renting out their service pistols. Now, that way, how you're going to find that out is through an inventory of bullets, right? That each individual police or police station or a province or region or municipality or whatever the case might be, or individual police stations that were brought to this particular police station, and every missing bullet must be accounted for. That means you must look at where did these bullets were used, for what crime that was committed in that particular area. So that if there are bullets that are missing out of the inventory, clearly, hello, how do they explain the missing bullets? Where did they go to? So there are police officers that are renting out their service pistol. Now, going back to the Senzo Mewa murder trial, we had a witness who's a police officer that was hanging out in Nkabi. And he says he took his gun and gave it to a civilian to keep. Do you really believe that? Do you really believe that? I don't believe that. I sincerely, in my own opinion, that gun was rented out. Because once it shoots wherever it shoots, and then investigations take place, and fellow officers, I mean, they can identify their own bullets, right? Like, now this was a police guy. What do they do thereafter? What do they do thereafter? So that needs to be looked into. Check the inventory. The inventory will tell you, and then ask hardcore questions. And that's how you will find that actually these bullets, they did not just fire on their own. A gun was used. Which gun that was used? You would find that the possibility is that of a police officer, right? The fourth one, how many police officers are in the pockets of criminals? Can you imagine you've been mugged? They took your phone, they took money, they took other valuables. You go and you report to the police, and the police ask you one question: how did they look like? You know that question, what it means? It means, I mean, we know all the criminals here. I need to go get my cuts from the sale of that cell phone, or from the whatever valuable that was taken from the victim. So we need to find out. That means the police minister, even if it means he what's the word I want to use? There's some kind of a deal that he does with criminals in order for them to spill the beans, then he should do it. And guess where he should do that? On convicted criminals that are already in prison, that miscalculated and got arrested by a different kind of police officers. Those guys will tell you, oh, if you go to this police station, I was working with Sergeant whoever. And if you go to that police station, I was working with Constable whoever. If you go to that police station, I was working with the station commander. And this is what we did in sharing. And that way, you know the statistics of those type of corrupt police officers. And then stick to your deal. If the deal is, okay, we will try and get a reduced sentence for you, because some criminals, they do talk in the hope that they get a reduced sentence, especially if the information is going to assist the what do you call this, the state in curbing heinous crimes. So I think that's what he needs to do. And this is something that, of course, tell the nation before you do it, so that we can have a good discussion about it, whether it's a good idea or not a good idea. But I think in order to curb a relationship between criminals and police officers, and then the police treat the communities they're supposed to be serving as enemies, simply because I went and I laid a charge against a drug lord in my community, and now because the station commander or a big police officer in that station gets money from the drug dealer, then next thing I'm getting arrested for a crime I did not commit simply because they want to move me out of the way and his pocket from the drug dealer or from the criminal in the area. This is what we are facing as communities across the country, Mr. Mkhulu. Now, did I say the fifth, the sixth? Police stations. The Central Maywa murder trial has taught us so many things. That police officers take suspects to edlangalaleni, meaning in the bushes, to interrogate them. Why our police stations are not equipped with interrogation equipment like recordings, two-way mirrors, etc., and so on? Why don't we have those? And we call ourselves a democracy. And for the past 30 years, what happened to the budget that's supposed to have installed these type of equipment? So that's another thing that you need to look into, Mr. Mkhulu, the installment of proper interrogation rooms with the proper technology in them. That way we're not going to have a situation where a suspect is taken to a bush, made to sign things. Listen, they may deny it, but we understand because we, the people who experience the police officers on the ground, Mr. Mkhulu, we experience the police officers on the ground, the things that they do, breaking the law by hitting people to force them into admitting something they did not commit or pointing a finger at somebody that had nothing to do with the crime. All because we have inept detectives. And an inept detective, of course, there's no way that I wouldn't know where to start to come to a conclusion that this is the perpetrator. So the easiest thing to do is to force somebody from the, like, who looks like a criminal. Oh, that guy. You grab him, you go to the bush, you do all kinds of things to them, forcing them to confess to a crime they did not commit. And guess what? You write a report. Yes, Clentus, this is what he said, and this is his confession. What? Case closed when I get to court. I don't have the proper lawyers or the proper resources to hire a private lawyer. All these things play a role. All these things play a major role. And these corrupt police officers know this, Mr. Mkhulu. They know this. So it's easy to grab a poor person because they're going to rely, guess on what? Yes, you guessed it right. The South African Legal Aid Board. And the South African Legal Aid Board, you are going to be thrown with some drunkard lawyer who is inept or a freshly graduated, what do you call this? What do they call it? Candidate attorney who is still wet behind the ear and doesn't know that they need to refer to a magistrate as my worship. They stumble and fumbling and doing things, and you think they're going to win your case? And then you have the state, whose prosecutor is very well seasoned and experienced, and come and just chop you down into pieces straight into jail for a crime you did not commit. Why? Because a so-called detective is so inept. He doesn't know where to start, so he just grabbed you from the street. Because you can't afford a private lawyer. That needs to be looked into. Interrogation rooms equipped with interrogation equipment so that we get to the truth and see how these police officers conduct their job as well. Right? And then the seventh point, when our police officers, together with their vehicles, are going to be fitted with body cams and dash cams. I think the police officers in this country are getting away with a lot because there's no eyes and there's no ears that is looking into their conduct on a daily basis. You need to start thinking around that if you want to curb police corruption. In the United States, There used to be a situation like this, especially in the state of New York. Until body cams were installed on police officers, to this very day, a police officer will really have to be so corrupt and brave to be corrupt wearing a body cam. And his vehicle as well behind him has dash cams and windscreen cam as well as a tail cam. And audible, so that we hear what was being said by the police officer to the suspects. Because we have a situation, again, from the Senzo Mewa murder trial, where a whole 30-something experienced police officer speaking isiZulu and talking about Ipoyisel Cool. And yet, Section 35 of the Constitution says the suspect, when they read their rights, they must be read their rights in their language that they understand. But Ipoyisel Cool. But if he had a body cam, that man would not be the one that did the the rights to accused number one and accused number two. It would have been the correct police officer who speaks isiZulu, possibly even isiZulu from Northern KZN, because accused number one and two come from Northern KZN. If I was a police officer and I find out that the suspect is from Northern KZN as a Zulu person myself, I would say, no, I don't think I'll be the correct interpreter. But you have a whole dude from Limpopo who lived with the Zulus for how many years? He said 10 years and talks about the Ipoyisel Cool. Anyways, so that needs to be looked into. It got to look into installing body cams on our police officers, Mr. Mthunu. The ninth thing here that you need to also look at is the rotation of police officers in police stations. I get that there's going to have to be money involved, because when you rotate them, like for example, a police officer in Morocco police station will be in Morocco police station for 6 months and then will be deployed somewhere in Tabanchu in the Free State police station in the next 6 months. And in the next 6 months, he finds himself in Umlazi police station. And then another 6 months, he finds himself in Langa police station. The reason why you are doing this rotation is so that police officers and the criminals do not get the opportunity to build a relationship with each other. That's the purpose of these rotations. Yes, I understand you're going to have to buy state houses so that when they are moved from one place to another, they are able to move either with their families or by themselves. If that's, you're going to have to work out the details, how it's done. That way you are curbing a relationship between a police officer and criminals in the local area, because some police stations, they fear for their lives when it comes to the criminals in areas that they are policing. You'll find a big boss that comes and reminds the police officers who he is. And possibly even before he bribed every police officer, and then if they ever tried to come and see what he has done, he will remind them of the bribes that he paid them. Versus if they don't know who this police officer, this gangster is, as well as the police don't even know, they are able to do arrest appropriately. Look into that. The business of inkabi is growing in South Africa, Mr. Mthunu. Can you find out, sir, what is the stats of this business? Because it's growing and it's coming from the province that you originate from, apparently. Can you check into that? How are you going to curb? Because I feel this type of crime deserves a high-level intelligence operation. Because these people, maybe, Mr. Minister, some brave person sitting from your province wants you out. All they do is poison either your security detail or get some inkabi somewhere who will not mind to be shot dead because he knows that his family will be taken care of. You need to look into this, Mr. Mthunu. It's very important, not just for South Africans alone, but you too. Now, family members of yours, because you know how they work. You're coming back from whatever meeting or event, just as you enter your gate, Siasha, the Nkabi business. Check how or what is the stats of it, because it's important to be a category on its own when you are delivering your crime statistics. Very important. We need to know. Transparency is what now we are demanding as South African citizens. Transparency is what we are demanding. Number 11, I think, or 10, I'm no longer following my situation here. Oh yeah, also the rotation of police officers also reduces the Inkabi, where the police officer is an Inkabi. So that also reduces that situation as they get rotated. What's the other one? Oh yeah, once you have found out how many of Inkabi business that we have in your fighting of crime, check these guns. Where are these guns coming from? The ammunition. Who is supplying these guns? And what is the port of entry that is letting these guns into the country? Again, inventory. We need to check with gun stores in the country. Who did they sell the gun to? And check as well if the gun that was bought in this particular gun store is sitting somewhere in SAP 13 store. That way we know, okay, this store sells guns to people that are unlicensed to have a gun. That needs to be done. But we need to find out what port of entry that is allowing guns into South Africa and ammunition into South Africa, ending up in the wrong hands. That one as well needs intelligence. Do we even have intelligence? Mr. Mtun, where are these weapons coming from? Mr. Mtunu, this one is a sensitive hot potato that is being discussed everywhere. Everybody's discussing this, and I have come to hear one or two words that are being said and coming out of South Africans' mouth. Deport or step down. That's what South Africans are saying, Mr. Mtunu. If you're not going to deport, I understand that that is not your department, but your department also has a duty in cleaning the streets of crime, because you and I kind of know that people that are undocumented, it makes sense. If I'm undocumented, I can enter anybody's house without wearing a glove and do whatever I need to do and leave. And then you send your detectives and they lift fingerprints and then they go to Pretoria to find the owner of these fingerprints, and there's no results. I mean, this one doesn't need rocket science. And this is indefensible as well. So in order for you to clean these high levels of crime, you need to send out your guys to the streets. It's inconvenient for a South African to be carrying around the ID, so that the police officer, when they stop us and we have to produce, yeah, I get it, it reminds us of Dompas, 1950 something and all that, but we want to clean our streets. We want our streets back. We want to be able to send our 7-year-old to the tuck shop just down the street without worrying that they'll get kidnapped or even shot with a stray bullet. We want our streets back. We want a life that we once led under apartheid. And I'm not saying, I grew up under apartheid. I still remember how our streets were. I still remember. Very safe. My mother wanted us in the house The moment the street lights go on, in fact, she said the street lights must not even come on without you in the house already bathed. But if she ran out of an ingredient while she was busy cooking and the sun is beginning to go down, she was able to call Nkandla, awungena esitolo. And then I will go to the store, hopping all the way, and greeting my friends who are still playing and gonna get a beating because the street lights are on and they're not back yet. And then I go buy the ingredient for my mom and come back safe. We want those streets back, Minister. We want those streets back. So that means you're gonna have to have balls and you're gonna have to be very aggressive in cleaning our streets. It makes no sense, Minister, that you are... I have never seen this before. During working hours in our major cities, you find a group of grown men standing about. There is no indication that these people are working. And as you pass them, they're like, hey, I have a cell phone. Do you want... Whose life was lost for that cell phone that is being sold to me on a street corner during working hours? Minister. Again, this needs you, Minister, to eradicate this because it's making our streets very unsafe. I can't carry this right now as it's dark outside to go and buy myself a cold drink because I may come back dead, which I'm not going to come back, and my cell phone gone. Tomorrow morning, somebody will be standing on the street corner selling it. Minister, this does not need rocket scientists. It just needs a proactive police force to go and get rid of those people. So the deport or step down, this is some promise South Africans have made that we've done this before. If we got rid of apartheid, there is no way in that it will be a cold day in hell where South Africans will not be able to take care of you guys who are supposed to be serving us. If anything, Mr. Minister, the 29th of May, 2024 should be a very big lesson for you and the government of national unity. That South Africans are like, we are enough. So either you take this or you don't and find yourself in the cold, removed by South Africans if you are not going to deport. And I'm not talking if you are legal in South Africa. Doesn't matter where you come from. If you are legal in South Africa, this talk is not for you. Because it's easy to get hold of you if you commit a crime. Very easy. But the other ones that are undocumented, there is our problem. And this now spills to the Minister of Home Affairs. Hey, Mr. Leon, the Schreiber. You don't like South Africans, do you? You don't like South Africans. But I'm not surprised because I did a video before where I got chastised by somebody that is a member of the clan. I understood his chastisement. I accepted it. But I told myself, time will tell. Didn't time tell? Because the first thing this minister said, we are going to something about skilled. And I'm like, wait, you are not going to say skilled non-South Africans. And he goes and says it. And I'm like, now, South Africans are going to be punished for a deliberate act of not equipping us with skills deliberately. And then now we are going to be pushed and shoved somewhere there for the next 5 years. And then 5 years, when it's time for elections, then you bring us back out so that we come and vote for you who don't like us, who don't put us first. Because no, these guys, they come with skills. Whose fault is it? What measures were taken for South Africans to be skilled? Now we are being punished for a deliberate act of not skilling the people of South Africa. But no, we are going to make sure that the papers of those that are skilled are good and dandy, so that they continue to shove South Africans even further down as unemployable. Minister of Home Affairs, I am telling you right now, you're skating on thin ice. It's time to deport or step down. You gotta go. Me, I'm already calling for you to go. Because I did not like that. Your executive decision, the first thing that you do on your first 100 days is to say, screw you, South Africans. You are unskilled. You're unskilled. But hey, guys, we will renew your papers. Y'all are skilled. So if then they are skilled, what happens to the unskilled South African? What plan do you have for the unskilled South African? I did not hear anything about your plan to skill South Africans. Clearly, we don't matter. We don't matter. But let me tell you something. You are not going to be sitting there. Your 100 days will not complete until South Africans take the streets and say, you must step down. And as you step down, any other person that is appointed to replace you, they must understand one thing, and one thing only, that you put South Africans first. Damn it. Let us learn on the job then. Let us learn on the job then, if you hate us so much. And it goes also with DIRCO. I don't even know what DIRCO stands for. DIRCO. I know this department to be the Department of Foreign Affairs. It makes perfect sense. Now you're filling up our mouth with useless words. The US has it even much beautifuler. They say Department of State or State Department, because it's got everything to do with the state, the country. But I like foreign affairs. And now, my question to both Home Affairs and DIRCO, and I'm not trying to be funny here. I'm not interested in being funny, but I don't recall a war or some kind of persecution that the people of Nigeria as a whole were going through, except one thing that to this day I think they still have, is natural resources. They got oil. I think they are probably the 7th place in the world that got oil reserve, whatever they call them. But they are here. I thought, and I was under the impression, that the reason why we have refugees and asylum seekers in South Africa is because of, understandably, is because there were wars in Congo, Somalia. There were a point where Kenyans were in South Africa and Angola. If I remember correctly, as a teenager, we had Angolians, we had Kenyans, we had, what else did we have? We had Rwandans, because this was still in the 90s and the Rwandan genocide was still fresh thing. And I understood why they were here, because I would think that if something happened like that to us in South Africa, countries, our neighbors, will also open their arms and say, okay, guys, we can keep you here until everything has died down back in South Africa. But what about the Nigerians? What was going on? Why are they here? Is the question I'm asking. Why are they here? The ones that I've had a conversation with, they say, during the days of apartheid, we helped you guys. I don't remember seeing that in our history. And if you were helping us during the days of apartheid, and apparently Nigeria children, they say that them as kids, they used to donate money every single morning. Part of Ikeri, the money that they carried to buy stuff at school, half of it had to go to South Africa. And I'm like, okay, if there were such, then clearly there are records that were kept when the money was shipped to the ANC or whoever they shipped it to. But then I want to say that excuse, ministers, died on the 29th of May 2024. We are no longer going to carry that burden that we helped you during apartheid. And if I remember correctly, because I told y'all guys, I am a child of the ANC, and I know these old people that are in parliament and ministers, I know them personally. Yeah, I do. Especially those that lived in KZN, I know them personally. As a kid, I got a sharp mind. I remember the current, what do you call this, speaker, Umam Togo Didiza. She used to come to my place at my house, 1068 Hammersdale, Main Street. Yes, I'm giving the address. That's where I was born. They used to come there. Oh, Malum Jacob Zuma, right there. I know them all. But one thing, I mean, when we fled because of political violence in KwaZulu-Natal, black on black, IFP and ANC, my family was pointed out to be executed. My mom got the intel. She took my brother and I across the border to Swaziland. We lived there for 5 years. There, I did see more of Malum Zuma and Thabo Mbeki, who was en route to England. I know all those guys and the conversations. You know, it's funny how they say children don't know anything, they're not observant. Especially if you have a curious-minded child. I heard the conversations. How in Zambia, in Tanzania, in Malawi, South African exilees were not allowed to integrate with these respective societies. They had camps and they were kept far away from the general population of these countries, respectively. And yet we have them with us in our belly. These are the truths nobody wants to talk about. And the moment you talk about it, you're xenophobic. European countries right now don't want no Africans, but nobody is accusing them of racism or xenophobia. But no, let's shut these South Africans by just dropping this word. And CNN, BBC, what do you call this other one? I almost said Al Jamaa. Al Jazeera running with the story, South Africans are racist. No, they're xenophobic. They push that agenda the entire world. When they talk of South Africans, we are xenophobic. And yet everybody's still here. Everybody is still here. DECO, the Ministry of Home Affairs, why are they here? What war is going on in Nigeria for us to keep them? What war is happening in Somalia? Didn't they end up with a government subsequently? The countries that I have the utmost respect for, immediately when Angola discovered oil, the Angolans that lived here, they packed up their things and went home. Those that married South Africans, they were like, either you come with me or you stay behind, but when you stay behind, I will divorce you. South African women, some of them went along with them. Kenyans did the same thing. They all packed up their bags and went back to Kenya. Then Rwandans also did the same thing. They packed up and went back to Rwanda. And then the rest? Because what war is going on in your country? What persecution are you going through in your country for South Africa's constitution to protect you? Durko, Home Affairs, we want transparency with this question. It doesn't end there, guys. It really doesn't end there. It doesn't. Because the other question that I ask, United Nations, what role are they playing financially to ensure that this burden that we are carrying, this cross that we are carrying to a point where now we are being spat on our faces about, what are they contributing? Because I will tell you what's happening right now. This is a fact. South Africans, just like the Minister of Home Affairs, took South Africans and pushed them there in that corner because they're unskilled. South Africans that finished matric 5 years ago, they don't know the joy of waking up in the morning to work, earn money, come back, support themselves and their families. But there are people that I'm asking, what is going on in your countries? Wake up everybody in South Africa. They know the joy of waking up in the morning, running to the trains, to the taxis, or whatever mode of transport that they are using to go and work so they can fend their families. They're enjoying that. And you know why they're enjoying that? This is what I got chastised for. I had said in a video. I said, the DA, if they took the Ministry of Home Affairs, my fear is that South Africans will continue to suffer. You know why South Africans will continue to suffer? Because most businesses in South Africa are owned by white people. And these business white men and women enjoy exploiting these people. Because if they have to hire a South African will earn money. But if the money doesn't increase in the next 2 years, they are going to have a protest in their hands. We know why? Because the Labor Relations Act protects workers in this country. And the Labor Relations Act does not allow any employer to exploit their workers. There is even minimum wage that every employer needs to, implement the moment they hire the unskilled laborers. I got chastised for saying that. I kept quiet and I said, let's see. So there he is saying, we are going to re-register skilled foreign laborers so that, because he's protecting what? The interests of the business owners. That's a fact. That's why he brazenly spat on our faces and said that. It's a conversation. Don't look at me. It's not. I'm just listening to people talking, and I'm like, damn, you're damn right. So I'm just here because I heard that these ministers, they do listen to our videos. I'm talking YouTubers. YouTubers, don't take yourself lightly. You are listened by everybody. So if these ministers are listening, hey, I'm just a messenger. I'm just letting you know what South Africans are saying. Other South Africans, again, put intelligence, are speaking even stronger language, which I'm not going to say here on YouTube. Put your intent. Do we even have intelligence? So yeah, I want to know the role the United Nations is playing. Or it's just enjoying not taking responsibility and accountability for all this is happening. Why must we be the United Nations itself? South Africans, after 1994, We never got a chance to enjoy our democracy, develop ourselves. Just when we went into democracy, suddenly we had visitors. Like, okay, hey, we are all going to be together. They're going to impart their skills and whatnot, and da 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 da. Nah, they had no interest in doing that. They had no interest in doing that. The question you ask yourself, why wait for a country to first develop itself and then you jump? And when you get there, ubadelele. Right now, African Americans in the United States, they're experiencing the same thing that Black South Africans are experiencing with visitors. Who the first thing they get there, they have the audacity to say, Black Americans are lazy. Here, they say Black South Africans are lazy. Where were you when our parents were being killed? Where were you when 1976 took place? Where were you when, what you call this in the Val, people getting shot? Where were you? To come and tell us the audacity that we are lazy simply because you are protected, because they're exploiting you. In the United States, same thing. Where were you when Jim Crow was lit on Black Americans? Where were you? That you take a whole aeroplane, fly across the ocean, who worked really hard for what they have today. Because you are a different kind of Black in America, that is why you are protected again to suppress your own people. The narrative, South Africans are lazy, it's everywhere around the world. And yet here we are. We bother nobody. You don't see us in droves in airports, running away to some land. We're fighting our own battles right here, lazy as we are. We are building Santon. We are doing things. We are doing things. But we are still called names. You are a visitor and you are spitting in the face of your host. Who raised y'all? I'm talking about those that are doing that. I'm not talking about the good people that are grateful to be in South Africa and are also legal. I have no issues with that. Not at all. It's the ones that they've built a toilet, an open pit toilet on our heads. Right? We never had a chance. We never had a chance. I, as a student, if I did not have classes, or maybe if I did, but I would go to work, and most restaurants in Rosebank, before Rosebank, it was this Rosebank that you see today, it was a tiny little plot of the zone. It has some few little restaurants there. Santon as well was not what Santon looks like today. It had what you call the Santon Mall. Inside there were a few little restaurants there. You go to Northcliffe, you go to where else? Hyde Park. There were these little restaurants. Guess who was working those restaurants? Students. South African students. We held those plates, served people with a big smile on our faces, got tips. That is how we chased away student poverty when we were students. Today, no, I'm not accusing. This is not false accusations. Go to these restaurants in Rosebank. Just go to Rosebank. Better yet, let's do it this way. Let's do a practical thing. If you have a friend who is not a South African, you get along with them and you are a South African citizen, both of you go to the same restaurant to look for a job. Guess who's coming back without one? Because the question that you get asked is, where you from? The moment you say, I'm from Durban, they'll say, thank you so much for coming today. It was, well, we'll call you if we need to fill in this vacancy that is already filled. But your friend, welcome, my friend. The entry salary here is 800 Rand a month. Do it. I'm challenging you to do it. You will be asked where you're from. The moment you say a country that is not South Africa, you are good to go. You got the job. Go to Cape Town, worse. Go to Durban, starting to get worse. But they still hire South Africans in Durban. But you can tell it's going there. And you think South Africans need to roll over and play dead when all this is happening? I don't think so. I don't think so. And I'm listening to these conversations. Some I agree, some I don't. So, since the Minister of Police is overhauling the police management system, let's start afresh. Minister of Police, Minister of Home Affairs, and Minister of DIRCO, let's start afresh. Those that put South Africans first, you will win us over. And when I say putting us first, there is no way that when I am a South African citizen who pays taxes, I go to a public hospital, I am mixed with other people that are not South Africans. And because they got money to bribe securities to put them in front of the line, that means my ailment is going to eat away my body, possibly even die right there. Why? Because I'm a South African citizen. I don't have the money to bribe the security in front, whom, by the way, is not even a South African. Remember, once upon a time, the security industry used to be Zulu-speaking people. They used to call them Omachingelan. Go to any building in Johannesburg, posh. Go to the posh ones in Sandton. Find me a South African there who's a security. They don't exist. I'm talking all over the country. Our tour guides, who are supposed to be South Africans who understand South Africa and the South African history, they are not South Africans either. You will watch videos from African Americans that are visiting South Africa, and they'll be sharing about South African history that they've learned while they were here. And then you'll see South Africans in the comment section, they're like, what are you talking about? That's not our history. I found myself saying, whoa, that's not our history. What are you talking about? And then you go and Google and you're like, oh, the tour guide is from Congo. And it's telling the tourists Congolese history and making it that of ours. There are people that, in particular, Cape Town is the guilty one. If you are not a South African and you're from somewhere in the world and came to South Africa and you were tour guided in Cape Town, the history that you have in your head, incorrect. Incorrect. The only place, or maybe places, that have South African tour guides is Gauteng. Of course, they will not play that game. They will not play that, because in there you have what is his name, Hector Peterson's sister, who is also one of the tour guides. How do you replace her with somebody that's not a South African who's going to tell Hector Peterson's story? Siketshwele emakhanda by our government. South Africans are taking back what belongs to them. Because anybody, any citizen, if we were doing that in your country, probably would have been chased with guns and machetes. That's definitely what would have happened. The crimes that are being committed, the sophistication of a crime that's been committed. And you're like, in South African schools, they never taught us how to put a bomb together and go to an ATM and bomb an ATM. We've had ATMs forever. Cash in transit vehicles, they've been with us forever. Then you remember, oh, by the way, some of our visitors in their respective countries, they were part of the army that went into villages shooting people. Some of them were even child soldiers, and they came with that skill here that we don't have. So, in other words, what I'm trying to say is we are sitting ducks. Kidnappings was never a South African crime. Kidnappings. Today, you walk down the street, a vehicle stops, they profile you first, throw you inside the car, and then they call your family. Call your family, kidnap for ransom. That's not a South African crime. South Africans don't commit such crimes. Then when you look into Google, which country in Africa that is prone for kidnappings, check it out. Check it out, and you will see South Africa apparently, in terms of kidnappings for ransom, we've surpassed Mexico. Surpassed Mexico. How is that our crime? We know our crime, Tina. House breakings, that's South African crime, and we don't kill. We don't kill. But I understand the ones that are doing this, they also hate us. So after taking everything they've taken from you, they still pump bullets into your body. Because we injure. This is what we are faced with, ministers. This is what we are faced with. So is either you deport or you step down. What am I saying? Yeah, I know that in the comment section, this is my last point. I know in the comment section, I'm going to get people who are going to want to talk about Pan-Africanism, hey, politics. This is not about politics. We don't eat Pan-Africanism. We don't eat history. We don't eat all these big words that you are going to use to make me feel somewhat. We don't eat those things. We live real lives. I got family members that every month from my salary, I have to send grown people. I'm talking grown people who have gone and made applications upon applications upon applications upon applications for years now. And they still have not gotten a job, not even domestic. Remember, domestic work was done by who? Gardening work, construction. We don't exist in those anymore. You ask a South African who's unemployed, what kind of work do you want? They will tell you anything. Anything. But we are told that we are lazy. There's some certain jobs that we don't want to do. A South African choosing a job? Njani. We don't choose. Especially when we know our situations. We don't choose. That is why you got people with degrees. Degrees, some as far as master's degrees. Guess where they are? They are pumping petrol into your car. They are cashiers at your nearest Pick and Pay, Woolworths, Checkers, you name them. Because they are willing to do anything. No South African will say, I will not sweep the streets. Who was sweeping the streets all along? Worst case scenario, those buckets with stuff, if you remember, if you laughed at them, they would pour it on you or they'll pour it into your house. Who was doing those? I know people. This is it. Deport or step down. That is South African slogan right now. South Africans are saying deport or step down. I don't know what you're going to do, but transparency we need in these questions that have been asked. These questions, through transparency, we need them answered. But other than that, guys, I don't see any comments coming through. This is it with today's live. So go ahead and politicize everything. But I'm telling you, South Africans, they're not eating politics. They're not eating Pan-Africanism. Yes, it's a great ideology. I support it. But when we are waking up every single morning, while our visitors, whom we still don't know what they're doing here, they get the joy of waking up in the morning, and we are approaching payday very soon. 32.9% of South Africans will not be getting that joy of earning money on the 25th, 27th, and the 30th. They won't. But our visitors will. How is that fair? How is that fair? Guys, I gotta go. Good night.